I think my interest in classics came really from my parents. My mother was a history teacher. My father was a big film buff, so he introduced me to lots of films about the classics, and my mother used to take me around wet fields with my brother looking at castles and Roman sites and things like that. My father hated it, but it was fun and it got me an interest in the classics to start with. Favourite film, 1962, 300 Spartans. I was inspired by the story of Leonidas and the 300 Spartans defending Thermopylae against the whole Persian Empire, and that really got me started. When I went to senior school and I did Latin to start with, I fell in love again with all those stories, Jason the Argonauts, the Persian Wars, Julius Caesar, and then I started going on some school trips and we went to some lovely places like the British Museum, Hadrian's Wall, and then in year 8, equivalent to year 8, I got the chance to take Greek or German. Almost everybody else took German, I took Greek, and I absolutely loved Greek because this alphabet that nobody else could understand, and I could write in codes and things that people couldn't understand, and that was amazing, and I took off from there really. I think there are two areas that I particularly enjoyed. When I was at school, it was Greek comedy, believe it or not, the Monty Python of its time. Aristophanes, who wrote 15 comedies, I think, about life in ancient Athens. And that was very interesting, and it brought together the humour, which I actually got, with the Greek language, which nobody else did. So it was like a secret Monty Python kind of experience. I loved that. I knew everything there was to know about Aristophanes as an 18-year-old. A little bit later on, Roman history was the big thing for me. I particularly enjoyed the Roman Empire and the late Republic. So Julius Caesar, the Civil War, Caesar being assassinated in the Senate House, handing over power to Augustus, his nephew, who had then his trials and tribulations with Mark Antony and Cleopatra. This was fascinating stuff, how they manipulated the masses of Rome. It was a remarkably interesting period of history, and then how that handed on to the early Roman emperors, and all the intrigue that you have with emperors like Claudius and Caligula and Nero, and their wives who would routinely assassinate people. It was a fascinating part of history, which I read about in Tacitus' Annals, and then later in Tacitus' Histories. I'm not sure I really chose teaching. I think teaching probably chose me, actually. My mother was a teacher, of course. I didn't intend to go into teaching. I did a few bits and pieces. I did some English teaching to students from overseas, and then just found it really interesting, and I got offered the chance to go and work in a boarding school, which was fabulous, to totally immerse yourself in teaching classics, which I loved, and also to be able to coach sport and watch drama and music. It was a wonderful thing, being paid to run cricket nets for boys. It was just marvellous. So that whole immersive part of school life, I just fell in love with that, being part of a school community, and I've done that ever since. So at Hill House I get to wear, I think, a number of hats, and for me that's tremendous fun. So I spend a lot of my day being headmaster, and I get to show people around the school, and I get to talk to children on so many different levels. I'm very proud of the school. It's lovely to show people what we do at Hill House and the kind of education we have. But then I can go off for an hour and teach Latin to 13-year-olds and try and inspire them with a love of Latin, particularly the role of Latin in the English language. And then I get to go out on the cricket field or the hockey pitch, and these are wonderful things, and it really does mean that every day is fun and packed with entertainment and interest. Outside school, I still like to play sport. I play for a local cricket club, and I do some umpiring there as well. And I spend a lot of time with my dogs. So I have two dogs. I have Coco, the chocolate Labrador, and Indy, named after Indiana Jones, is a rather mad spaniel. And Indiana Jones, one of my favourite films, of course.